Hey guys, it's time for the long-term review of the KTM 250 XC. Stick around, that's what's coming up next on Dirt Bike Channel. Let me just start off by saying that if off-road riding is what you love to do and you love to get out there and go fast and go hard and charge into corners and fly out of them and pound through rocks and pound through whoops and be able to jump over logs and just have a blast out there doing hard enduro off-road style riding, the 250 XC is very hard to beat, especially since it's a little bit cheaper generally than the 300 XCs. So the 250 ends up being a bargain for guys who really know what they're looking for. The 250 XC is a phenomenal package. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Kyle and Sam with Dirt Bike Channel, and we wanted to talk to you about this amazing machine here. It's a 250 XC, KTM 250 XC. This is Sam's bike, and he's been riding it for the past, what, 2 years? 2 years. 2 years. And we wanted to talk a little bit about it. We've got a lot of people that have been asking about the 250 XCs, and we think it's an awesome package. I mean, if you had to kind of sum up what your experience has been over the past couple of years riding this bike, what are some of the thoughts that come to your mind?
You know, it's been my favorite bike that I've ever owned. It feels really light. It's got a ton of power. It's got great suspension. In my opinion, it's kind of a do-it-all bike. That's why I love it so much. You can go out into the desert and ride it fast. You can ride it up in the trails and bang all the rocks and do all that as well. And so it's been a really good all-around bike. It's been solid. I really enjoy it. I think it's my favorite KTM platform.
I asked Sam to elaborate what he meant by that. Was it the 250 that's your favorite, or just the XC lineup in general?
Well, it's probably the XC. The 250 is a fantastic bike, has a ton of power, has the same amount of horsepower as the 300 XC. But I feel like riding other 300s like yours, there's a little more tractor pull, which I think will help a little bit in the gnarly stuff. But I don't really feel like I'm missing out. So if you feel like 250, or you find a deal on a 250, because you usually can over the 300s, I'd say go get it, because you would really love it. Yeah, it'll be a ton of fun. You'll be able to do anything and everything that all your 300 buddies do. So
yeah, that's a good point that he brought up, is that these 250s generally are a little bit less money than the 300s. Everyone loves the 300. I love the 300. Sam loves it as well. But these are a little bit cheaper because everyone kind of thinks that they need that 300. So sometimes you're able to find a good deal on a 250. And honestly, if you find one, you should just jump on it. Like Sam said, these 250s don't have less horsepower. It's just the way that the power gets delivered. So these rev a little bit quicker. And the funny thing is, when we've done drag races and things, we've done it multiple times. The 250 is not any slower than the 300. It's just that the 300 power comes a little bit lower. The 250 XC also seems to get a little bit better fuel economy. I don't know if it's just because it's got a smaller piston than the 300, so it doesn't suck down so much fuel, but it just seems to go a little bit further on a tank of gas. Yeah. But back to the 250. So the XC, this one's got the linkage suspension. How have you liked that? I know that you came off of a PDS type suspension, right, but this has got the linkage. Was that a good change for you? What did you think?
I'm going to be honest, and I'm probably not a good enough dirt bike rider to really understand or feel the huge difference between a PDS and a linkage. But what made the biggest difference for me was the front forks. Okay. Especially coming off a W, where you'd be out going through the whoops, and the W would want to wallow into the whoops, and so you'd lose your speed because it just would you'd clank your suspension. Eventually, you would bottom out. But with the XC, you'd stay upright, and you can bang through them and go a lot faster. And so I've really liked that. I kind of feel like I like the more aggressive, suspension in the front. And I'm sure in combination of the, with the linkage, it's probably helping with those big whoops and stuff as well. So yeah.
What Sam's trying to say here is the suspension on the XC versus the XCW tends to be just a little bit stiffer, so it allows you to go faster through bigger and bigger, whoops and things like that. The XCW suspension is more geared towards single track, slower, really rocky technical stuff, where the XC suspension is geared to go a little bit faster, so suffers a little bit in the technical stuff, but it shines out when the speeds increase.
So when riding the 250 versus the 300, we've noticed that, or I've noticed that it rides more like a true two-stroke, where it rides higher up on the pipe. So you got to ride a little bit faster, which is also makes it really fun because you know, you're always in that power band, and so you get the wheel spin. And
another thing to consider when you find an XC model is the off-road tank. So this is what, about a 2.9?
Yeah. So it's the same as the W, right?
Yeah, same tank as the W as far as the fuel tank, so your range is going to be real similar. Some of you four-stroke guys watching this are going to think that's about 35 feet, and you're not far off. You can only ride this about 60 yards and it'll be out of fuel, right?
Exactly.
Because these two-strokes, they burn through the fuel, right?
Exactly. And the
no, how long a ride? We've been on rides, 75 miles, 80 miles, and you've not been on reserve, so... I'm going to take this opportunity to preempt a bunch of comments. Four-stroke guys tell me they're always going like 150, 200 miles on a tank of gas, and you're going to be like, you can only go 75 miles or 80 miles on a two-stroke? This is not riding down a dirt road. This is intense, hard enduro style riding. This is nasty single track, nasty rocky roads, rutted stuff, up stuff, down stuff, on the pipe. So yeah, 75 miles of stuff that would make you limp for weeks straight if you did it.
Kyle tended to run out of gas at a quicker rate than I did on my 250.
Yeah.
He would be putting, and maybe that, I mean, everyone has a different riding style. You know, the jetting's always different. So, I mean, there's so many variables, but at the end of the day, you know, we'd be heading back to the truck and he would put his in reserve and I didn't. I don't know if that's just because my riding style is different, or I'm slower, or,
yeah,
you know, the 250 just doesn't have to pull down as much fuel because it has a smaller piston inside. We don't know. But.
Now, you also went with a headlight, didn't you?
Yeah, because, you know, some of those rides that we go on is you need a headlight, and it, you know, obviously the XC, especially the 250, comes with all the hardware to wire in a light, but it doesn't come with one.
Another thing about these KTM two-strokes is, at least on the off-road models, the XCs and the XCWs, is not only do you get a kick start, but you get electric start, and that's been a pretty awesome thing. Sometimes guys poo-poo that because they're like, oh, you're just adding weight. But these bikes don't weigh that much,
right?
And that electric start's been pretty nice, hasn't it?
Yeah, and you know, it's not for just starting the bike, just, you know, when it's cold. It's actually for when you're out on the trail and you're getting into a tricky situation and you kill the bike. And you can actually, because with the two-stroke, you can just pull in and you start freewheeling when you're pulling that clutch, and you can hit the power button, and you can basically do that all in one motion and continue on your path without losing momentum. So if you're in a, you know, you get caught in a ditch or something and in the wrong gear and you kill it trying to go up the other side, instead of having to roll back and hit it again, you just hit the power button, drop the gear, and go again. And so I really like it. I don't know if I could handle a bike without having that electric start.
Yeah, now what I've noticed is times when I'll maybe tip the bike over on a hill or something, you get into some pretty gnarly, you know, some situations where it's hard to kick it over because of the way that the terrain is. Everybody watching this has probably had that experience one time or another, and it's nice to be able to be completely off the bike on a side hill and then start it, you know, and then make your way back up the hill. So we really, really like the electric start on these things.
But yeah, as far as long-term, you know, of how I've liked it. It's been a great bike. I would recommend it to anybody that was looking at either the 250 or 300. You can't go wrong with the 250. I've had zero problems with it. It's been a fantastic bike. It's bulletproof. You know, it's a two-stroke, so it's easy to work on. You know, since I've owned it, I haven't replaced really any parts on the bike other than the rims. I put Excel A60 because at that time they just come with silver wheels, you know, because this is a 2013, and I like the black rims, so it wasn't because I bent them or anything like that. It was because I just wanted to replace them. In fact, I haven't even really put any rides on it before I put those A60s on there.
Sam's all about looks, so he has to have good looking rims and good looking stuff. He has to have the best looking truck. Just to kind of piggyback off that though, kind of in conclusion, every time I've ridden it, I felt really at home on the bike. And you know, handlebars are a little bit different, you know, different placement each from bike to bike when you get on someone else's bike. But after 2 minutes on this, I've always felt very natural, and I've ridden it a lot. I know, because every time we go out, we'll swap for 20 or 30 minutes, and I've really been impressed with it. I would not hesitate at all if I found a good deal on a 250XC. I would jump on it. A fantastic bike.
Yeah, and in fact, I always tease Kyle, as soon as he gets on my bike, he disappears and I can't keep up with him. So I'm like, you shouldn't ride that bike anymore. It's not good for you.
He thinks this is faster than the 300, because every time I get on it, I think Sam just goes slower on my bikes because he's trying to be a good friend and not wreck them, I think. So, but that's it. That's the long-term review of the KTM 250XC. Obviously, we've rolled in a bunch of different footage of rides that we've been on, and really fantastic package. So, thanks for tuning in.